all attendees. Fantastic. The room will start filling up. My name is Stephen David Elliot, and I am the founder of Rockstar Connect. Rockstar Connect is the largest evening networking event company in the United States, doing over 1,000 events per year and over 100 per month with fantastic hosts all around the country. Today we're having a special event. I'm going to tell you guys the structure, just so you're not sort of surprised. First of all, everyone that's an attendee, all of you participants, all you panelists, we are being broadcast now to every Facebook group connected to Rockstar Connect, which is about 250. That's potentially 130,000 person reach. So you're going to have to behave a little bit better than on Zoom calls. Welcome, Jermain.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Mark, Mark was popping in, so he's going to pop back out. So very happy to have you all. I understand that you are having a phenomenal event tomorrow. And I'd like to introduce Eric Stoller. He's going to tell us what's going on. Eric is the president of Champion Mindset, as well as the founder of the Les Brown Institute. He has hosted thousands of seminars in person and virtual with attendees as little as 100, a little intimate group of 100, up to over 1,000 attendees. And I know coming up, as soon as we open up the country, he's going to be doing events with tens of thousands of people, because now he's the king of virtual as well. Welcome, Eric. I'd like you to introduce all of your fantastic panelists, and we'll get going from here. Hey, Mark, can you come back on at 3 o'clock? Go ahead, Eric.
No problem. Thanks again, Steve. I appreciate it. I'm going to introduce our panelists, our speakers for tomorrow. You know, tomorrow we were supposed to be live in New York City, all of us, at the Sheraton in Times Square with 2,000 people. And then, of course, just like everybody else, we have now had to pivot and change. And so we said, well, do we postpone the date? I said, well, let's do a virtual event. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's try to take what we were doing in the live setting. You know, everybody's out there doing live events and they're doing free virtuals and there's 17 days. And I said, let's just do one day like we were doing our format. And so the program is titled Wake Up and Win. And of course, Mr. Les Brown is our keynote. And one of the reasons we called it Wake Up and Win, because Mr. Jermain Miller, not only was he the student at the Les Brown Institute, he's actually been coached by Les personally, and he helped him with his book. And so Jermain is gone from, has a phenomenal story. I'm gonna let you, he'll tell you about it. And what he's done, and he's on the ground in New York, and he's been spearheading the charge. And then our other great folks, we have Laura Mitchell, who is a phenomenal, she's a book publisher, a coach, a psychologist. She works with organizations like United Airlines. But just a short time ago, she was actually just sitting in our audience trying to figure out what she wants to do. And she really talks about her story, because a lot of people are saying, how do I get into these spaces? And they don't know how to do it. And she's somebody that's done it and fast-tracked it. And then we've got Mr. Mike Warren, who's an expert at helping people buy businesses. Right now, what's going on, we know a lot of our business people are in this worrying about raising money, getting money. He is somebody that actually goes ahead and shows companies how to use their cash flow and helps people buy as an investor or as an operator. And finally, Mr. Ken Dunn, who runs the Authority Factor. He's been instrumental in helping us build an affiliate army and having, you know, thousands of people get on the register and be part of this amazing event. So, Steve, I thank you, because I know you're hosting our networking and be part of our moderation tomorrow. And I want all your people to know that this is something that we're very excited about, because the people that are here to give value and help people change their lives and maybe give them a chance to pivot. And it'll be all day tomorrow, starting at 9, running till about 7. We'll give out the links later to talk about it. But I want you to hear from these panelists and hear what they have to say, because they're going to be pouring into everybody tomorrow at this event.
That's fantastic. And we're going to go to each one of these terrific national figures here. We're going to have a little bit of fun with them. They're going to share some wisdom. But for you attendees, you can put any questions you want in the chat. And we also have the virtual lounge open for you, the HIO virtual lounge. Sarah, who is running our chat today, is going to give you a link so you can go in there. Our speakers, these panelists, they're going to go into the lounge, some of them after they speak, so you can connect with them individually. In the lounge, you're actually doing one-on-one video chats with one another. You click on someone and you're going to do some form of speed networking where you'll have 7 minutes to see if you can make a meaningful connection, just like you're going to an evening Rockstar Connect event. So I've been jumping back into the panel. I've been reading a lot. I'm on social media. I guess nowadays you live there. Even if you don't like social media,
Yeah.
you're going to be on social media. And also watching a little bit of TV. Maybe not a lot of TV because I have been working hard every day, but we have been watching some TV. And we watched Saturday Night Live this weekend. And it was amazing because they did this whole show in Zoom. They were all filming it from their homes. And I watched the first one, and they had a little bit of trouble, like we do with technology, just like us. We got to see into their apartments the way the stars on that show live. And I was a little surprised they weren't all in palatial mansions. They even showed the inside of Tom Hanks' home, and he had a relatively normal home. And we're having the same experience in the Three-Martini lunch. We're looking right into people's offices right now. So I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm going to start off with Jermain Miller. Jermain, in your office back there, I see, is that a whole bunch of books?
It's just laying around.
What is that?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of books just laying around.
And so how are books important to you, especially right now when you're shut in, and how are you preparing for opening up in a few weeks?
Well, I think it's always important. One of the things that Les always shared with me was a quote by Abraham Lincoln when they asked him if he had 8 hours to chop down a tree, what would he do? And he said he'd spend the first 6 hours sharpening his axe, and the next 2 he'd spend knocking down a tree. And the reason why is because you want to be sharp. And I think that, like, for me, in this quarantine time, the first few days was a little difficult. But after I realized that this is the time where you can develop and grow and work on things that you wouldn't ordinarily work on. How do you become better? How do you grow personally? I found myself in my office just reading. I wrote 2 books in the last 3.5 weeks. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to stay sharp.
You're an underachiever.
I'm an underachiever, yes. But I'm just trying to figure out ways to stay sharp. I do believe that at some point, this is all going to be over. It's going to be a new normal for us. And what type of person do you want to be when this new normal is over is a thing that I ask myself. So I find myself just staying in a regimen, a success routine is what I like to call it, from working out in the morning to listening to Audible, reading books every single day. How do we stay positive? Because at some point we'll have to get back out in the world, and we don't want to be one of those types of people that don't have any idea what just happened to them over the last 2 months.
Well, that's some great information. And we really look forward. What time are you going to be speaking tomorrow at the event?
Well, I'll be on for the majority of the day, just hosting and assisting and helping out. I have a few, but I know for sure we'll be right on right before Les, a little later in the evening, as well as assisting with a few panels and things that's going on throughout the day.
That's great. And we're going to drop into the chat a special offer so that you can go get tickets if you want to go to the event tomorrow. You can certainly go to any of the networking events, but if you'd like to hear some of these great panelists, they have a fantastic price on tickets as well. Okay, we're going to move over to Mike Warren. So you have all these photos on the back of the wall. Is that family members? Is that famous people? And how many books have you written this week?
This week? I haven't written any this week. I do have 2 more that are coming out. They're not done yet. But I've written 7. 3 of them are #1 bestsellers. One's an international bestseller. Those are some magazine covers back there. That's me with a Richard Branson, lead singer from Poison, bottom picture back here, that's me with my son, the next generation coming up of a Shark Tank mogul there. Because, what I do is I buy and sell companies. So, we're in the private equity space. So right now it's really interesting. Everybody's at home and I'm at home too. This is my home office. And I'm more busy than I've ever been before. We are closing more deals than we ever have before. And the opportunity for getting great deals. So, if somebody's watching us and they say, Mike, I have a company, right? I'll give you a couple of industries that we're buying right now. We're in construction, we're in coaching, we're in software as a service, we're in Amazon fulfillment, we're in marketing agencies, we're in medical spas, and a couple of e-commerce companies. We're doing 2 more e-commerce companies. So these are all companies that we're buying right now. We're getting funded. Everything's happening. When people think that you can't do deals, we do everything remotely. I'm not leaving my house. I'm doing all these deals by video conference or by phone, and a little bit by email. And we're structuring deals, getting it funded, and we're making money. And so are our partners. So, Steve, you had mentioned that there are some people, Eric actually mentioned it, that there might be people that have a business that might want to essentially double their business. So that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, is how to double your business in 6 months or less by working 50% less. And the secret to that is going out and buying your competitor or buying a company that's similar to what you do, but maybe not a direct competitor. Combine your incomes, combine your expenses, or reduce your expenses by consolidation, and you increase your profit and your market share. Everything goes up, and it's so much easier to do. The challenge is most people don't know how to do it. And of course, the biggest thing they come up with is, well, how do I fund the thing? And we'll actually put up the money to fund these deals for people and partner with them on the deal. So that's kind of what we do.
That's great. So I'm waiting for my offer for Rockstar Connect. You can just slip it under the door.
Not a problem. I would love to talk to you about it, in fact. I've heard about some great things you're doing. I'd love to talk to you if you either want to partner or sell.
Absolutely. And what's really cool right now is it is an opportunity to expand your business, because you're really learning what your team can do and what businesses you can, services you can add on. So we're looking to add on, whole other companies to our business to take advantage of the skill set that we've developed. Okay, let's move over to Ken. So I'm looking in your home office, and it's pretty fantastic. So you got books and you got DVDs in there. How have you been utilizing these things to get you through quarantine?
It's interesting. I haven't had a chance to read at all during the quarantine because our business is exploding, and it really has to do with the pivot. What you'll notice, it's really interesting. I've not often done stuff like this from my home office, but what you're actually seeing around me is the phases of my life. Right behind me, it depicts a 14-year period of my life where I was an undercover drug cop. I was a SWAT officer, and I spent 6 years investigating major crimes and was a police interrogator with the Ottawa Police in Canada. From there, I owned a major publishing company for 7 years. I sold the publishing company to Penguin. We published 17 New York Times bestselling authors, 57 Wall Street Journal bestselling authors, and about 900 Amazon bestsellers. Today, what I do is help people to understand how to optimize their experiences and monetize them. And that's what the Authority Factory is all about. What I've been doing, to be really honest with you, for the last couple months, is I've been looking at, ever since this pandemic happened, I took a look at my entire business and I said, what is the most important piece of my business that is most relevant for the time? And I do this a couple times a year. Just so happened that the pandemic fit into this equation. And this is what I'm going to do tomorrow at Les Brown's event. I'm going to show you exactly how to cherry pick the most relevant part of your life and turn that into a business today. So I did this exercise 60 days ago. And I found a tiny little piece of my business that before the pandemic represented less than 5% of my revenue. And I created a new vertical with that little piece of my business and generated $480,000 in revenue in the last 60 days.
Guys, are you listening to that in the chat? If you have any questions for Ken, please throw them in. If he can't answer them right now, he'll be happy to answer them later, and he'll join you in the Hio app. Ken, have you written fiction as well, or just nonfiction?
Yeah, I've written 5 books. I've written 4 books that are nonfiction. My latest book is called The Greatest Prospector in the World. It was published in 2014. It hit the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. It sold about 400,000 copies, and it was a dedication to one of my most important mentors in my life, a man named Og Mandino. So he wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, and my fiction book is called The Greatest Prospector in the World. And it's still selling 5 years later, about 800 to 900 copies a week through bookstores. It's a really great book.
Well, everyone's looking forward to hearing you speak tomorrow. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, sir.
Laura, we're looking over there in your office. So I see your book there, and I see the American flag and some flowers. How do you utilize that to inspire you every day?
Well, it's part of who I am. I like to keep things simple now in my life because it's been a little chaotic for me in the last, 25 plus years. So I like to just keep things simple now. And I just want to say that I am a true product of and a true successful entrepreneur of events just like this. Champion Mindset, I attended an event and I invested in myself. I met Eric for the first time, and he inspired me to step out of the box and keep investing in myself. And that's what I did. I actually went to a conference, Master of the Mic conference with Les Brown, inspired by Eric, of course. And I was able to share my story of some events that happened in my life for the very first time. And I was able to get a book deal from that. And so the book deal kind of went awry, and I have a great story. I mean, I lost my son when I was 17 years old. He was here for 12 minutes. So he was born and he died on the same day. And it sent me into a whirlwind of grief. And I continued to make bad decisions where I later ended up in the Department of Corrections, where I gave birth to my daughter when I was shackled to a bed. And so I have some great stories, and I have a plethora of stories, so much that, it brought that book deal to my life. And book deal went awry, and I struggled. I ended up going into the self-publishing route, which was also a nightmare. And I vowed that, I couldn't be the only one that was going through something like this. So I vowed that it would never happen again. And I decided to become a book publisher. And so I took my experience, I found my purpose. I use that for a profit now. I can make a profit from that because I'm on many platforms all around the country. And I have fantastic book publishing company where I have 16 authors that are publishing their stories right now. And it's awesome because as a therapist, I'm able to help people go through that healing process in telling their story. So it's not just, your typical publishing company. We're actually getting through the story and finding some healing, and then we're teaching people how to tell their story. So it's fantastic, many platforms. And during this time, I've actually had a little episode of some depression, if I can be real right now, because I was on such a high in March and April. I was getting ready to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show and talk about my book, talk about a story that happened in my book where I almost attempted to, I attempted to run over my best friend who deceived me. Yet another story.
Oh, don't do that. You'll be back in the Department of Corrections. So tomorrow, are you going to elaborate more on all of this? How are you participating?
I am. I'm actually going to I'm going to do a session on book publishing and talk about, sharing a legacy, how people can share their legacy, because our stories are so much more than just putting something on paper. If the Bible weren't put into words, how would we ever know that legacy? So I'm going to talk about leaving a legacy and what publishing a book looks like for people.
I know a lot of the attendees at today's Three-Martini event, they really want to talk to you. It's blowing up here in the chat.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So you can jump into the chat, or, at 2:30, all of our panelists have the opportunity to jump into the virtual lounge and connect with you individually. Okay, so what is going to be the most interesting trend in the second half of this year? Let's start with Mr. Miller. And I'm putting you on the spot here.
No problem. I think the trend for the second half of the year is, what we put together, which is phenomenal. Being able to put top people in their respective fields together and really figure out a way to capitalize and create multiple streams of income online, and spending more time with their family. I think that's something that a lot of us took for granted. I know, I have 3 sons, a wife I didn't really spend too much time with, and I'm getting the opportunity to do all of that. But I do think that going into the next phase of the year, or the next phase in general, guys like Mike Warren, Ken, who are specialists in the area of showing people how to create income online and building businesses online is definitely the place for us to all be at.
Excellent. One of the trends might be, are people going to still continue working from home, spend more time with their family? Ken, I know that you're a very active business person. Any changes you're making that you find are going to improve your lifestyle for your family and your business?
Well, you know, what's really interesting is I've literally spent the last 8 years selling online courses. And about 4 years ago, I launched an event company and I started traveling extensively. And as I started traveling and doing more of my sales in front of audiences, I got away from doing webinars and online sales. And because of the pandemic and that little splinter effect that I'm going to go into great detail tomorrow, I mean, anybody who shows up at the Les Brown event, from me, you're going to know exactly how to find the tiny little piece of your experience that you can turn into a 7-figure business. And I ended up doing that. But what it really did is it took me back to a good balance of selling from webinars. So I'm generating all that money I discussed doing 3 webinars a week. And I'm going to continue to do that. To your question earlier, I really think the world has no choice but to do what we're doing now. And I think there are a lot of people having epiphanies right now about how much more productive they can be staying put and leveraging technologies like Zoom. And I think we're going to see a continuation of that trend even after all of the restrictions are lifted. I think people have learned some really valuable lessons. And I think in history, this is going to go down as a big breakthrough period for a lot of businesses in the world.
I think I agree. A lot of new businesses. For us, it was a major pivot going from live to digital, because in my book, Mingle, I talk about face-to-face networking in the digital era and using digital as a tool. Now it's actually become the physical space. So there isn't a lot of difference. Although, I'm craving, to, be back with someone in the same room, because that's ultimately the best way to, to establish a connection or a relationship.
Well, I tell you, if Rockstar Connect can figure out how to simulate the hug, I think you guys will be a billion-dollar company.
That's it.
Gosh, well, I'm gonna have to talk to you afterwards and see if you have any ideas on how to do that without us getting in trouble. Something. Yeah. So before I get to you, Mike, Eric, real briefly, what are you guys doing tomorrow during the event, and how can our attendees participate? All the people watching out on YouTube and Facebook, the thousands.
Yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow, these great speakers are going to be on throughout the day. We start the networking with Rockstar at 9 Eastern time for about an hour. People can register, meet people, connect. And then at the top hour of 10, we start the event. I have a couple of fireside chat interviews that we're going to have real briefly. And then we're going to start speakers. You're going to hear from Laura. And you're going to hear from all the speakers here. In fact, David Michaels is also going to join us, who is the king of the virtual employee space. He was unfortunately couldn't be with us today. Phenomenal digital marketer. Guys, travels all over the world. Good friend of Ken's and just a super guy. And then, of course, we're going to hear from the great Les Brown. And that's why a lot of people are tuning in. But when we do these conferences, I want people to understand is that the people that we have on have either been connected with Les Brown, or they have studied with Les Brown, or they understand his impact worldwide over 40 years. Because more than anything, Les is a guy that inspires people to take action. He might not say to you, I have the exact idea of what you need to do, but you don't need that. Jermain's story is amazing. And he hasn't told you, but he's been a super successful real estate broker in New York. But Les was the guy that every day was in his ear while he was trying to get them. So for your people, or for the Rockstar Connect people that want to get involved, we highly recommend you come and join us. We're going to have great speakers, panelists, and I believe it's in the chat. It's Les Brown, wakeupandwin.com. There's a 70% off. It's just a few dollars to enroll. And in addition to that, we're going to throw in our this book called Pivot that we have. It's like $100 book for all your people, because people need to learn, like we've been talking about. You got to pivot right now, and that's our goal.
If they go to the website, they're going to be able to get a free copy of that book as well. How much are the tickets if people went to this event live?
they're starting, they're usually 97. They're starting at $27. Okay, we did it for the virtual event, and we did a ticket offer. And this is some of the brainstorming, the collaboration that Ken, he assisted us with as well. We did a ticket offer. So when you buy that ticket, you actually get a voucher to go to one of our live events. If you once me and Jermain can open up New York again, when Cuomo says we can open New York, and we can have a live seminar, all these folks are invited. So it's the deal of the century, and a century, what, at least of this week, right? And they get over $2,000 in bonuses and gifts and giveaways. So I want people to know that between the summit, between the live, between the gifts we give you, between these experts who are all super successful people, and there's some people I haven't even talked about. I just got Coach Nick Bollettieri to come on for a few minutes and give us a few words of wisdom. So I'm bringing a lot of my connects that you're not even going to know about today, because these are the folks that have really committed their time and were planning on being in New York with us for actually April 29th, which was the live event date for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. And everyone, when you do participate in events like this Les Brown event tomorrow, or any event online now that's digital and paid, you pay for, you're supporting the companies that bring you these events all year round.
Mm-hmm.
We need you as attendees, but you need us to present these events for you. So make sure that you go to Eric's website. It's in the chat here. Also, go to the Rockstar Connect website. This event is absolutely free, but you can make a contribution there. We're very excited to hopefully start bringing you live events again in May and June. And I think people are going to want them even more, and we want to bring you the best of events. Before we go to the next panel, Mike, we have a question, and we're going to let you get to answer the question.
Okay.
Someone would like to know, they're asking here, how do you increase your sales right now? What's one thing they can do to increase their sales right now?
Well, I guess it depends on really industry. So I'm not going to try to give an escapist answer. Probably what I would do is I would look at really, we talked about pivoting and the book pivot and everything else. It's how you do more of what you've been doing, but do it online. So a lot of what's happening is learning how to create ads to promote your product or service, whatever it is. Every company we buy, we have funnels where people, you see an ad, they go into a funnel and you give them stuff, but they ultimately buy your product because that's what you want them to buy. And it doesn't matter what industry it's in. So what I would do is I'd be focusing on as much as I could on how do I learn about creating ads to drive traffic to the right kind of a landing page. Don't send them to your website. That's a mistake. Your website is all about you and what he cares about you because they don't know you, right? You need to send them to an ad that's product specific, goes to a page that's product specific. It doesn't go to your generic website where they got to go then search for it because you lose most of your business. And then also, let me just give this as an extra tip. On that page, when people want to get whatever your product or service is, offer them something for free. It's what they call an opt-in box. So they put their email in there to get something like a free report or a free video or a free training or something that you give them in exchange for giving you their email. That allows you to follow up with them. Even if they don't buy your product or service on your page, you can follow up with them and get that sale later. So that's what I would really be focusing on for me.
And I see all of our panelists are nodding their heads. I know that Eric did some fantastic work promoting this event by utilizing the right ads, and that's what we need to do. And so we're up at the end for these panelists right now. We're very excited that we're going to be speaking with you guys tomorrow. Ken, Mike, Laura, Jermain, Eric, you have the opportunity to jump in the Hi-O Lounge to speak with some of our participants who are there and connect them. We're going to be doing several networking opportunities tomorrow at the event for Rockstar Connect people. We're going to send you some emails for all you attendees so you can join that as well. And let's get ready for our next group of panelists. We're going to have joining us Domenic and Rhonda and Scott. And thank all of you, Ken, Laura, Mike, Eric, and Jermain. I'm sort of going to push you guys off the screen if you turn off your video.
Thank-
We're gonna move
Thank
on.
you, Steve. And I just want to let you know, Mark will be joining us tomorrow as well as part of the event, just so you know that.
Oh, Mark Sher. We're
Yes.
going to have Mark Sher on on the second hour, and he's going to talk to us. Him and Tommy Episcopo are going to talk to us about that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and
Thanks, guys.
go ahead, Laura.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you,
Okay.
Jermain.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks. Bye.
So we've been doing these events now, these Three-Martini lunches. This is, I think, our 6th event. We've had thousands of people view them. And so many people have been writing to us saying how they've really enjoyed the event. They've met people. They've produced business. And they have been successful in utilizing, what is, we thought we were all really good at digital and we were great at digital. But the reality is we did not have a clue. And, to a certain extent, some of us are excelling and we're creating business, and others not so much. So while we're waiting for Scott and Rhonda to join us, I think we have Rhonda here right now. We have Domenic right now. We're just waiting for Scott.
Hey, Stephen, how are you doing
So
today?
I asked, hey, Domenic. Hi, Rhonda. I asked Scott and Domenic and Rhonda to come on the show today, or to come be panelists today at the Three-Martini lunch, because of their expertise in using LinkedIn, not only to prospect for business, but to add value to other people's life. They actually take LinkedIn and make it more of a networking tool than just a place to go get a job or to post your resume. And both of them in the last, and Scott, have created closed business in the last 5 weeks from LinkedIn. They've also been able to close business from Three-Martini lunch, so I'd like them to share that experience as well. But let's hop right into it. While we're doing this, guys, feel free to go into the Hio Lounge. If you're an attendee just coming in, drop your information into the chat. If you have any questions for our host, feel free to do that as well. Let's start with you, Rhonda. If you could give an introduction about what you do and who you are.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. I'm a huge Rockstar fan. I think it's one of the most awesome networking platforms ever. My name is Rhonda Sher, and I'm a LinkedIn strategist and expert. And what I do is I work with entrepreneurs, business owners, service professionals, teaching them a method to be able to be visible, credible, and profitable on LinkedIn. And what that really means is they show up as the expert they are. They follow a system to book 2 to 10 appointments a week with their ideal client, referral partner, or their prospects. And then finally, without being salesy in any way, shape, or form, they're able to convert those connections into new business. And that's really it in a nutshell. And I think the only other thing that I do help with is a lot of people have LinkedIn and they have no idea how to reconnect with the people they're already connected to. So I share a strategy on how to actually reconnect with the people that you have already as your LinkedIn connections, but you probably have never even had a conversation with them.
What's the most interesting thing going on in LinkedIn right now? What are you seeing?
It's the level of engagement right now, because we're pretty much sheltered in place. What I'm finding is that there are many more events happening on LinkedIn. The information that's being shared in the posts is much more relevant. And there are a lot more people, just like there are on Facebook, that are active. In fact, what's interesting, Stephen, is that 90% of the people on LinkedIn are on Facebook. Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
And they just did a change on LinkedIn, which is really new. It used to be that you could only direct message 15 people from a LinkedIn group, excuse me. And then you were limited to 15, and they've changed that now. So they've lifted that number of 15. My concern is that it's going to open it up for people to be salesy and sleazy, as opposed to, let me share some best practices, let me share some information.
Yeah, what I'm finding with LinkedIn, they'll give with one hand and they take away with the other. So they gave us LinkedIn events, And for a few months, you were able to invite as many people as you possibly could, and then they yanked it right away from us, and it's harder to invite people than it is on Facebook. So you really need to be skilled to get your message out there. I'll come back to you, Rhonda. Let's jump over to Domenic. Comments on that. LinkedIn. Every time they give you an opportunity, they take something away, but how do you leverage it and stay on top of what's going on LinkedIn?
Well, I mean, I'll take your example, Stephen, and run with it a little bit. So I experienced the same thing that you did. You and I are both prolific event people via LinkedIn, and we got started right away with that. And then we find that we're not able to invite our connections to LinkedIn, to our LinkedIn events, because there's just too many invitations going out. So the way that I've kind of created an end around is that I'm able to tag a number of my connections in the actual sharing of the event, and I make sure that the people that I tag in that are my most connected folks, my primary connectors, and I ask them to share the event. And because I'm sharing it with my network and they're sharing it with their network, not only does it get out to a much wider audience than just initially me sharing it with my 3,500 plus connections, it goes out to tens of thousands of people who get an opportunity to see it. And if you do that in conjunction with the appropriate hashtags on LinkedIn, you can reach tens of millions of people. That's something that I don't think people understand about, most people don't understand about LinkedIn, is there's like a top 50 list of hashtags that are used, and you can get up to 50, 60, 70 million people following one hashtag. And if you catch fire in that hashtag and you start trending, your event can go from several thousand people being attended to upwards of hundreds of thousands.
That's an excellent.
Can I add something to that? Because
Yes,
I
please.
love what you said. Recently, I don't know if you're aware of it, but this past weekend, there was an event called an Opportunathon. Did you hear about it?
No, I didn't.
So it was a 24-hour or maybe 48, I'm not exactly sure, hour. And they had, I can't even tell you how many speakers, okay? And some of them were selling stuff and some of them were giving great information. But one of the people that I follow and I study with is a guy named Joel Bauer. And most people don't know who he is. He's called the mentor's mentor. But what he did was so brilliant. He has a huge community of people just like you do and just like Stephen does. And he created a contest. And he basically said, look, if you share this with your network, I'm going to give you these gifts. And they were all downloadable gifts. Absolutely all downloadable. And for the people that do exactly what this system was, right? I'm going to feature the top 50 of you. Now, when he said feature, he just meant in his scrolling PowerPoint, he was going to show your name, right? Because it's an evergreen webinar. He had more people than all 30 speakers combined showing up to that event. And he had more sales than anybody else at that event. So it's exactly what you said. It's using the power of your connections, asking them to share. And what I would say is just sweeten it a little bit. Say, listen, if you do that, let me give you a download of my book, or let me do X, Y, Z. Give them an incentive.
Oh, sure. There's nothing more powerful than giving something away and getting a return of that value. In fact, my wife is she's an engineer with the federal government, and they literally can't accept gifts from potential contractors of more than $5, because even a small $10 lunch, the psychological impact of that that gift creates the subconscious need for a reciprocal action. So anytime you can give value, it creates a powerful relationship between you and the person that you provided that value to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I totally agree with you. Really reaching out to your network and asking them and just using the words, hey, I need your help. I found something that's really awesome and I'd love if you would share it. And just to say thank you for sharing it, I would like to gift you with. And you'd give them something digitally, right?
Sure.
But the reach is huge.
The tag in and of itself can be the gift. So I've done permission. I always get permission for tagging when I do tagging. I'll make a post on social media and say, when I promote the next event that I'm going to do, who would like to have their name tagged and who is willing to share it? So I get the commitment first. So it's not a surprise that they're tagged in something with possibly, on Facebook, you can put up to 90 people you can tag in a post. I don't know exactly how many you can do in LinkedIn. One of you LinkedIn experts might know. Probably Scott Rutter would know. So Scott, I'm putting you online. You don't have to answer that question because you might not know that question. But Scott's joining us. Scott is a Rockstar Connect host. He is the Director of Business Development for Rockstar Connect nationally. He is also an owner of a Goosehead insurance agency. And he is killing it writing cases and business for his company utilizing LinkedIn. Can you tell us a little bit about the business you've had recently?
Yeah, definitely, Stephen. But before I jump into that, I just want to accolade Rhonda, Sher. Rhonda, it's because of you that Stephen and I met. So thank you so much. You're the one that turned me on to a Rockstar, and without the introduction, I don't know that any of this would have happened. So I don't know how Yeah, no, you're awesome. And I have no idea how I didn't know about Rockstar Connect because it had been going on for years, but I guess I just wasn't out on the scene as much. It's like everybody knows about Rockstar Connect. So thank you. Very, very grateful.
Just to add to that, when I first became interested in doing my own Rockstar event, it was actually Rhonda from California who reached out to me in North Carolina to talk to me about her experience with Rockstar Connect. And that was, yeah, Stephen's a great salesperson, and I appreciate everything that you do, Stephen, but Rhonda's the one that sold me on it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And
another thing,
isn't it?
Yep.
Very small, very, very small. So
what's LinkedIn doing for you?
Yeah, well, I just want to touch on this too, because I mean, I think this is going to provide value for everybody out there watching. But when Rhonda and I initially had kind of that discovery conversation, because she definitely helped me with LinkedIn, and that's actually what my outreach to Rhonda was, because Rhonda's national with LinkedIn, not just statewide out of California, but all over. And so she talk about having a LinkedIn presence. That's Rhonda. But in any event, one thing that she kind of called to my attention is I had a number of recommendations on my profile. But I hadn't given as many as I had received. So, of course, it's being a go-giver. It's about, and me to be a giver, but the public perception of that was not, showing that. So after she brought that to my attention, obviously I made sure that I went back and, gave recommendations to those who had given recommendations to me. As well as sometimes what can happen is when you leave a recommendation for somebody, they actually have to accept that for it to show on their profile. So there were actually several that I had given, but I had to, say, hey, accept this, this recommendation. So I think it's important for everybody out there. How I judge people when I looked at LinkedIn is I look at how many recommendations they've received, but I'm also judging them based on how many they've given. Are they a giver or are they a taker? So I think that's just an important thing to bring up.
That's an excellent
The other thing I'd add to that, Scott, is you want to look at how current they are. It's amazing when you look at recommendations and you see 2008, and that was the last time that there was a recommendation. They're not still in that position, and they haven't touched it since that point. So the recommendations are huge. And I'll add one thing that's kind of interesting. I'm a huge fan of Sales Navigator, the paid version. And when you have Sales Navigator and you have multiple recommendations, one of the things that you can take advantage of is something called ProFinder. You guys all aware of ProFinder?
No, please.
So ProFinder is, imagine that somebody is looking for, Domenic, for example, they're looking for life insurance, okay? And that's, New York Life is probably one of the very best. And they need a quote for it, or they need some help. They will actually put a request into ProFinder. ProFinder then will send you 3 leads for people that are looking for exactly what you offer. And then you have the opportunity to respond. Now, how ProFinder makes that decision on who they're going to send it to is how complete is your profile and what do your recommendations look like? That's one of the criteria. So it's really important to not only have a balance of give and take, but to make sure they're current.
That's an excellent point. And yeah, no, I had no idea. And I know Dominic's, you know, again, phenomenal with LinkedIn as well. So you even blew his mind with what you just told us about. So
Well,
great advice.
I haven't gotten into the sales navigator side of it yet, and I really need to start toying around with that because I think that's the next level for me. So, Stephen, I know you mentioned some things that LinkedIn changes from time to time, and I'm sure Rhonda's probably aware of this. Is that there's part of your contact info that's available now for kind of like hiding key and SEO words in your LinkedIn profile to make you more searchable. And that's actually your address. In your contact information, you can add up to 2,000 characters in that, which means that after you put your address in, you can put all sorts of SEO searchable keywords into your profile that's not actually on the front page of your profile, but is searchable through the LinkedIn algorithms.
Yeah.
I think that's an important
That's a
piece of
crazy
information
tip.
that most people don't
If
know.
any of you attendees, you know, of the networking event, you know, you may be in the main room, you may be in the Hio chat room. If you're loving these LinkedIn tips and you want to have more LinkedIn in the future, just say yay inside of the chat, and we'll bring you some more LinkedIn. If anyone would like to see, you know, my LinkedIn profile, that Rhonda has access to my LinkedIn. Creates my LinkedIn profile. Every month or so, she reaches out to me and says, you need to tweak it. You know, you need to make your LinkedIn a little bit better. There's stuff that you failed to put there. She makes sure that I do it. Now, a lot of people think if you put all your accolades on your LinkedIn, you're just they're afraid to do that because they're afraid to be considered a bragger. What are your thoughts? I'm going to go to Rhonda first and then let everyone else comment on it. Is it okay to brag a little bit on your LinkedIn?
It is. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people miss out on, though, is what they're really looking for is, why should I engage with you? Why should I hire you? And what people leave out is the third party. So in other words, who are some of your typical clients that you've helped? What are the typical results that you get? It's great that you have the, you know, the degrees and the accolades, but at the end of the day, people do business with people that they can identify with, right? So they used to call it the summary. Remember, it was called a summary. Now they call it the about section. And why they do that is because it's about you and what you can do for them. So I think one of the biggest things you want to look at in that section is, and this is what I say to my clients, have somebody else look at your profile. They know who you are. They know how great you are at what you do. If they were going to make a referral to you, and the only thing that somebody would use as their criteria is your LinkedIn profile, would they still make that referral? And a lot of times they're going to go, no. They know how great you are, but you're not showing up that way in your digital footprint. You're like what I call in witness protection. You're a best kept secret.
That's very good. What sort of drives me nuts is I've seen people that have absolutely removed their LinkedIn page. Instead of adjusting their LinkedIn page, they remove it and they start all over doing connections. Bad practice, guys. Domenic?
Oh, pruning. Is that what you're talking about, Stephen?
Well, I've heard about people pruning contacts. Now, I'm talking about people actually removing their LinkedIn page and starting over again.
Oh, wow. I don't know why anybody would do that. Do you, Rhonda?
I have no idea whether I would do that. You know, it's interesting because there are a lot of people that have more than one profile. And that's just because they don't realize they have more than one profile. So you can't
merge the two.
Excuse me, you can't merge the profiles, but what you can do is merge the connections. And that's something that, you know, because the most valuable thing are your connections. You know, getting into LinkedIn jail is not something you want to do. So you want to make sure that when you are connecting with people, you're doing it with integrity. You're not just hitting click, click, click. So I don't know why somebody would take it down and start all over if they already have those 500 plus connections. That doesn't make any sense at all to me.
I agree, Rhonda. And actually, we together came across a profile where somebody couldn't merge, and they did have two profiles, but that's because there was not so integrity things going on with that particular profile that we kind of looked at together. But you know, back to the point of, you know, should you brag on yourself? Is that allowed? You know, coming from a management background, the whole thing is I've always bragged on those that helped me get to that level. So, you know, if you're Domenic being the exception to where he wins like every New York Life award that, you know, is humanly possible, and he's a stage walker, then I think that's okay. But I mean, for me, where I've been successful, it's always about, hey, give the thanks back to my team that helped me get to where I was at. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, I agree with that. And here's the thing that I would also encourage people to look at. You know, how crowded is your space? You know, there's a lot of New York Life people, Domenic, but there are not a lot of people that are at the level that you're at and have won the awards. There are so many people that literally call themselves a LinkedIn expert, okay? However, what is interesting that happened to me is I was nominated as one of the top 50 LinkedIn trainers on LinkedIn by somebody that puts that list out every single month, okay? And I have over 85 written recommendations and probably 50 video testimonials. Now, I'm in a super crowded space because somebody sneezes and they say, oh, I'm a LinkedIn expert. Well, really? So think about it from the standpoint of how can you take every objection that somebody's going to have and answer it before they ever pick up the phone to talk to you? What are those credentials? So it is, Scott, you're right. You should brag. You should actually say, you know, if you have an MBA, put that after your name. For goodness sakes, they don't give those things out, right? If you have credentials, if, you know, if you've done, like, Stephen, you have started one of the largest networking platforms. You have how many people in this network, and you could probably talk to the level of business that's occurred as a result of being part of the Rockstar Connect network. That needs to be in there. When we first did your profile, that didn't exist.
Well, I
right?
think we need to have a little bit of an audit.
How? I'm going to give you an upgrade, right? So, I mean, think about that, though. You really do want to tell people, but not in a way that says, I. In a way that says, this is the third-party validation, right? I was nominated as one of the top 50. I didn't even know I was nominated. How that came about is a co-worker, somebody in Australia, asked me to nominate him. I was like, sure, you're awesome. And unbeknownst to me, he nominated me, and now we joke about it because I'm number 35 and he's lower than me, and he's like, hey, what's going on, right?
Yeah, and speaking of nominations there, Miss Rhonda, and coincidence, I don't know. But, you know, Domenic was nominated for best, you know, insurance agent through one of the magazines or major publications here throughout the Triangle back a couple of months ago. So is that credit to Rockstar? I don't know. And then for me, that's been in insurance now for 7 weeks, you know, voted into the final 4 of best insurance agent. So, you know, again, as Stephen has shared with me through his academy and everything else, your network is your net worth. And, you know, again, back to the brag piece, you know, I think people can brag on us better than we could brag on ourselves. So I think there's a humbling component into that as well. You know, I know that I'm, you know, Domenic's biggest cheerleader, and I know he's my biggest cheerleader. And, you know, I'm not talking about myself. I never hear, you know, Domenic out there in the field talking about himself. It's always, you know, leading with how can we help you achieve what you want? Like you say best, Stephen.
Yeah, say what you do, say who you help, and other people will say for you how good you are at that. And putting awards on your page, that's just other people telling you how good you are, and you can share that with folks. That's okay bragging. Don't say I'm an expert in this, that, and the other. That's not, you know, other people will say that for you. Just tell people what you do, and be clear, concise, and competent in your language when you're describing what you do.
And Domenic, I agree with that because one of my clients happens to be one of the very top trainers in neurolinguistic programming, okay? I mean, literally it would take an entire page just to list her accomplishments. Now, again, that's a very crowded space, right? So the way that it's positioned is I share my credentials with you not to impress you, but to show you the amount that I've invested so that I can help you reach your level. So you see it's positioned in a way that's not, hey, look at me, I've got all these. It's to say, look, you know what, if you're going to invest with a mentor, make sure that mentor is investing themselves. Would I buy insurance from you if you didn't have insurance? No. You need to be a product of your product.
What about, I have something for you. What about putting out some personal stuff? Like I've read some profiles that I found intriguing, and I've been more likely to respond to people's emails when they put in things like, you know, I responded to someone that said, I have traveled to 30 countries in the last 2 years. And they mentioned some of those countries. And I was like, well, I've been there. I think I'd like to get on a phone call with this person. I may not necessarily be interested in their product, but I'd certainly like to hear about their experience, and that may lead to other conversations.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of that, actually. And again, it's knowing what you want to reveal and how you want people to connect to you, right? You know, I could put in my profile that I married the same guy twice. It's cute, it's interesting, right? I joke, I say, oh, I have a husband and a husband, didn't have to change my name and the kids are ours. But I don't put that in my profile, okay? What I put in my profile is I'm actually a certified face reader. That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
You know, how many people do you know that could look at you and actually tell you about yourself just by looking at your face, right? So it's just interesting. One of my clients is a land banker, right? Now, please, is there anything sexy about buying land as a retirement strategy? Not really, but she bought so much land and made so much money that she started an orphanage in Vietnam. And that's what's on her profile.
Right.
That's awesome.
So yeah, to your credit, be careful what you share because people will relate to it, okay? But I think it's an important aspect depending upon what you do. Talk to a professional because nobody, and if you put your dog's name, chances are you're gonna give away your password because how many people use their dog as their password?
So
Not
true.
me. Not me. But I'm sure a lot of people do. Now I know when I want to get into any of your accounts to check that dog password. So we're coming up on the second hour of the Three-Martini lunch. And Domenic and Rhonda and Scott, they're going to stay with us. They may jump into the Hio Lounge for a little bit and come back so you can connect with them. They love to take calls offline. They may share, if you're lucky, they may share their calendar link so you can have a quick 15-minute conversation with them at a later date. For those of you that want to jump into the Hio Lounge, feel free to do so, to have those one-on-one chats that we're talking about. In the 3 o'clock hour, we have joining us Mark Roberts, Lisamarie Wan, Eric Lofholm, a friend of yours out from California, Rhonda, Tommy Episcopo from Your Family Bank, and Mark Sher, and they're going to have a little conversation with us before we start the second hour. We're also going to have Katia, Rave, and Jerry L. McCormick. So these are all people that are experts in their field. They're here because they want to give to you, because Rockstar Connect, it's all about giving, and then you will receive. So I am the founder of Rockstar Connect. My name is Stephen David Elliott. I've been networking since I was a young man, and that was quite a while ago. And networking is always, I care more about meeting people and helping people and assisting other people than I care about doing business. Because of that, people reward me by doing business with me. So these people that are here on these panels, they're giving a lot. They're giving their time. This is opportunity. All of the people that are on these panels, they're making money every day. They're making money every hour, but they're stopping what they're doing to share with you. And Three-Martini Lunch, Rockstar Connect, we want to share this wisdom with you. If you would like to be a panelist, drop your information. Someone from Rockstar Connect will connect with you. And we'd love to hear the wisdom that you'd like to share. We're going to interview you and see if you're appropriate. And that'll give you the opportunity to be up here with our illustrious guests. So we're coming up on the 3 o'clock hour. It looks like we already have joining from California, Eric Lofholm, and we have Lisamarie Wan, who is joining us from Nevada, from Reno. She is one of our hosts there now, Rockstar Connect host for 3 years. We have Jerry McCormick. Jerry, I saw you earlier. You came in a little early before. I wasn't sure if you were supposed to be there, so I almost started interviewing you. We have two of our favorite hosts in the country, Mark Sher and Tommy Episcopo with us, and Katia Rave from North Carolina. I think we're all here. Domenic, can you run? I want you to help Sarah a little bit. I want you to go into that Hio Lounge and connect as many people to Rockstar Connect as possible. And I want you to jump in about 10 minutes before and tell me what the experience is in Hio Lounge. Connecting with people. And I want you to tell me some of the people you connected with. I want the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you're going to tell me the good people you connected with and also the bad and ugly. But the bad and ugly, we won't say their name. We'll just make fun of them. Okay? Okay, welcome. Hey, we're gonna start this panel off. I can't tell you how much your family bank is important to Rockstar Connect. Your family bank currently has 5 networking events with Rockstar Connect, and they've had up to 30 events around the country for Rockstar Connect, where they have had thousands of people come to their events. And not only has your family bank, this is Mark Sher and Tommy Episcopo, been able to provide tremendous free events for their community where people have passed millions of dollars of business and referrals. They've made friendships, they've gotten married, they've had babies, not Mark and Tommy specifically, but people that have gone to their events have gotten married and had children and so on and so forth. They've been doing these events for 3 years. I really wanted to feature them today because they're doing something really important. Right now, a lot of us small business people, we're accumulating debt. We're paying our payroll with our credit card. We're buying more advertising, because now if you're going to do marketing, this is the time to do it, time to spend your budget. Some of us are taking government loans, which they tell us we don't have to pay back, but we may very well have to pay back because we don't know. We really don't know. Tommy and Mark have, but between the two of them, have gotten hundreds upon hundreds of people out of debt, and their company has gotten thousands of people out of debt. So I wanted to give them each a small opportunity before we go into our next hour to tell people what they do and how you can reach them. Let's start with Mr. Sher. Mark, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you for that, Stephen. You're very
You're
great.
calling from Australia today, it looks like?
Actually, I was in Australia 2 summers ago, and it's kind of a different background, so it makes me feel good. I was actually on a boat, and they had a big laser show in Sydney Harbor. But that being said, what we do is we basically teach people financial literacy, show small businesses how to self-finance, individuals typically how to get out of debt in 9 years or less, including their mortgage and student loans if they have any, without spending any more than they're currently spending. And a lot of people may say to us, that's too good to be true. My favorite response is, well, if it sounded bad, would you want to do it? Tommy and I are both really, really lucky because we love what we do. And there's no better feeling than helping people, but at the same time, being able to help your fat self. But just every time you look at yourself in the mirror, you just know that you're helping people. I'll let Tommy take up the slack there.
Well, I have a question for Tommy. So Tommy, when he started with Rockstar Connect, and I spoke with Tommy on the phone, usually I get on the phone with someone and it's an hour conversation. We have an hour conversation about Rockstar Connect. I tell them everything about Rockstar Connect. And, they have, we're all salespeople here. We're all business people. They have their objections. I have my rebuttals. We do a close. We pull a credit card. Maybe we have another conversation. It could take multiple calls. I was on the phone with Tommy for 2 minutes. He says, I understand exactly what you're doing. Here's my credit card. I'm ready to start my event last week. So, and had extremely successful events, has helped more people at his events than, as much or if not more than anyone else in the program. In addition to that, he's made a lot of good money from his event as well. You know, he's been very successful with his event, and people love him. Now, he made a post today that really spoke to me, and I follow his social media. And he wasn't a social media guy before he became a host, but he's a quick learner, and he's a great social media person now. And the meme said, take care of your debt before you invest. Can you explain a little bit more about that and how that works with what you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of counterproductive to what we're taught, okay? Everybody thinks get that money in there, fund that IRA, fund that 401k, fund it. Well, hold on, not so fast, okay? I can prove, and Mark can prove to you, that you will make more money by getting rid of all the debt you're servicing and using that money for retirement than wasting your time funding all those other plans. I'm sorry for all the financial guys that are in this room. My apologies. I'll probably say some things you don't agree with, but that's okay. That's fine. That's why we're all here, you know. So, you know, we look in an area that nobody's looking. No one is looking on that side of the equation. They want to show us their big retirement portfolio. Well, that's nice. But on the back side of that, you may have a mortgage, a second mortgage, a car loan, a couple of credit cards, a student loan. When I put that against that, are you making any money? You're not. You're actually losing money. I've said this a million times. How many times has someone come into my office with a big investment portfolio and they say, look what I have? How many times do you guys think that investment portfolio is outpacing the interest they're losing?
I mean, it's not going to happen, right?
It's never happened. It's never, ever happened. You think about that for a minute. That has never, unless the guy has no debt, which is pretty rare today, but that has never happened. Or at least he's not earning what he thinks he's earning. You know? Mm-hmm. So it's a completely different way to look at your funds, but it's very smart. Very smart. This concept, I go toe-to-toe with financial guys all day long, all day.
Well, I think it's great. Well, we're going to have a challenge. Sarah's going to drop Mark, Sher, and Tommy Episcopo's information into the chat and connect you with them. If you want to reach out to them and make an appointment with them and talk about what debt means to you and how you would like to get rid of debt, or even challenge them and say, hey, no, it's good to have debt. They would love to have that debate with you. And I've had that debate with both of them, and you can't win there. Yes,
Stephen,
Mark?
I have one quick thing to add.
Okay.
Everyone that's listening, I have a question for you. I don't know, you know, you have all different ages, but if you think back to 50 years ago, a lot of us weren't born then, 60 years ago, even 30 years ago, most people were able to survive if they lost their jobs for a year. You ask people today, and it's happening right now, which is why the government had to do the CARES Act, because everyone's broke after a 12-year bull market run, 11-year bull run in the real estate market. Why are most Americans broke? And I always ask people, can you live if you lost your job for a year? Less than 5% of the people will say yes to that. 6 months, maybe another 5 or 10%, 90 days, another 30 or 40%. But the majority of people can't survive if they lose their paycheck for 90 days. So why are they investing money into a 401k, IRA, 403b, 457 plan, defined benefit plans? If you own your own company, you should not be investing money at that point. Until you can live for a year without having any problems if you lost your income, that's when you take that money and start to invest it. And it's just coming full cycle, and we're seeing it live now.
Well, thank you for that insight. Everyone, if you want to speak with Tommy or Mark, they help you get out of debt and stay out of debt for life and become your own bank. I'd like to welcome some of our other panelists here. This is a national event. We have people on the West Coast. We have people on the East Coast and everywhere in between. And that's always a challenge when you're doing these panels, because people are asking Pacific time, Eastern time, Pacific time. And most people on the West Coast usually just talk in Eastern time. They're just used to helping us out. We get on a call. Eric is always so busy. The next person I'm going to point out to you, that his mind is always in Pacific time, because he just can't switch from that. So him and I, half the time we're trying to figure out, we're talking about Pacific time or Eastern time. Now, Eric Lofholm is a very famous business coach, extremely well-known throughout the United States and the world. Him and I are going to be doing a mastery class that we're going to announce here on teaching you on how to increase your sales. It's going to be a completely free class. If you want to know more information about that, you can dump it in the chat, and we'll make sure that you get an invite. It will be limited to how many people can attend, because we really do want to have deep conversations with you during that event. But Eric, you've been doing a lot of things. You haven't stopped. From day one, you've been maintaining your social media. You've been doing courses. You've been getting new clients. What is it that you've learned now that you're going to be applying 6 months from now when you're back to doing live events? And I know you're a live event king.
I am more focused on the virtual events. I have done live events. I started doing live events in 1999. I've done several hundred of them. And live events are absolutely fantastic, and I will continue to do them. I will bring them when we're able to release the shelter in place. I'll bring the live events back again. I'm really focused on virtual events, and what I can say that can add value to all of you right now is to think about leading with education. And a solar salesperson typically is going to book an appointment and go to a solar presentation at the kitchen table, but they also could lead with education as a part of their sales strategy. It's a pivot in thinking. And so what I'll just share with all of you is to consider leading with education, and you can certainly do that with live events. You can do it with virtual events. You can do it with publishing content as a pivot into how to grow your business in our new norm.
Excellent. And we're going to be talking soon, and we'll be announcing to everyone when we have our event together. We're going to have a little fun here. So Scott Rutter, you met him in the last panel. He's very well connected with Rockstar Connect. He's had his event now for close to a year. He brought on 2 of the panelists today. I've never met the panelists before. I've heard good things about Katia, and I've heard good things about Jerry. Could you introduce the 2 of them, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of international business coaches and people that are world renowned, definitely Katia is one of those people, and has become a dear friend of mine throughout the year that we've known one another. And then Jerry McCormick was recently introduced to me through one of our mutual shared connections, Deborah Mathias. And Jerry's got some very, very exciting things going on through his self-defense training, and also travels throughout the U.S. and internationally known as well. So these are just some really great people that I'm excited to introduce to all the viewers out there.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next topic we're going to discuss is, okay, this is all over, the shutdown's over, we're going out. I'm going to ask you hosts individually, what do you think about the country reopening, and are you going to be going to networking events again? Rockstar Connect, we're a networking event company. We sent out a poll to all the attendees asking about it. Are you going to be going out there? If you're a host, are you going to be still hosting your event? Are you going to go back to having the lunches and the coffee and everything else? Because I'm getting sort of sick of digital. We are going to keep the Three-Martini lunch forever and in our virtual events, but we're itching to get back there, face to face, belly to belly, shaking hands and doing all those things that we love. And I know there's commentators out there that says things will never be the same. I refuse that. I'm going to reach out to Marie Wan, who is a Rockstar Connect host out in Nevada. She's also a commercial real estate agent extraordinaire. She hosts the largest real estate networking event in northern Nevada. And also think the book Think, Pray, Love. She's like the character in Think, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, pray, love. Eat, pray, love. That's right. Are you ready to get back to networking? And what's the first thing you're going to do?
Humans crave connection. That's part of just the intrinsic how we're wired. And so I am so excited to get back to my after hours belly to belly networking events. It's my favorite event that I do every month, because I host other events besides the Rockstar event, but that's my favorite. It's got an amazing energy, and people look forward to connecting and seeing old friends and meeting new friends. And things, yes, are definitely going to change, Stephen. However, the core of who we are as people and wanting to connect with others in a face-to-face way, I don't see that changing. And so I plan on being back with my monthly event and my other events as soon as it's safe. And I feel like people are just jumping out of their skin, ready to hug and squeeze and say hi to other people and have a toast and share some yummies. And so I'm ready, and I don't want to jump the gun and cause anybody to be ill. However, as soon as it's appropriate time, I'm there and raring to go. Can't wait.
Excellent. You're always very uplifting. Jerry, what's your thoughts? You got to unmute yourself, Jerry.
Oh, there it goes. Okay.
There you go.
Hey, it's one of those things that I agree with Lisamarie. It's we have to have the human connection, but we did an event just as this was all going on in March with Association Executives of North Carolina. We had something planned, and we just went ahead, and the CEO of that group decided to go forward with it. Everybody was smart. We stayed apart. We didn't. We're a bunch of hugs there normally, but a lot of these are people are friends. So, but I think in time we're gonna. When we go back, I just kind of use the analogy with other people. If I can go to the supermarket and stand there and check out, and somebody can stand near me and take my money, we're not too far off and just thinking, why can't we do that at our networking events, and just being smart about it. Everybody kind of does an elbow or whatever, but I think we're going to get back there, but because the norm currently, we can't sustain it. North Carolina can't. We had a couple of folks talking about financial can't. I mean, it's not really about us going out and speaking as much as it is about our day-to-day friends here that don't have the wealth, that didn't do all the right things, are really suffering. So I think we're going to go back sooner than later anyway, just because of that. But we need to continue our connection and just do it the right way.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we've had Rockstar Connect, and we've had multiple calls this week of people that are interested in hosting their own physical networking events. And they really want to do it sooner than later. And I said, well, we're doing what the CDC tells us to do. But they're already putting deposits down, because they are certain that the economy is coming back. They're investing in their business. They're ready to hit the road running. So after the shutdown is over, expect a lot more physical Rockstar Connect events nearby you. It's just we may put in as part of the supplies now, hand sanitizer. We may have you bring your own name tag prior to the event and fill it out. I mean, we'll have to figure out what best practices are. I know Sarah Elliot, who is my wife and also our director of operations, and make sure all these events occur, is already coming up with a list of what will be best practices for networking events. Now, what's really shocked me, and I was a little nervous, when this all went down, because I also sell real estate. We also have Rockstar Connect. So all of a sudden, Rockstar Connect, we can't have, physical events. Not our choice, but we, very early agreed to shut down our events temporarily. But, that's a big pivot. That's really an enormous change to go into digital and to learn how to interact with other people and give people the opportunity to network, like in the Hi-O Lounge. And any of you attendees, please feel free to go into the Hi-O Lounge to connect one-on-one with other people that are attending this event. But I also sell real estate, and I thought real estate was going to be completely, utterly destroyed, and that we would have no real estate business. And to my pleasant surprise, in the state of North Carolina where I live and I am licensed, we are essential employees. Now, we're not having open houses where people are going, and we have very strict rules on how homes are to be viewed, and we impose those rules on ourselves. I have, in the last 2 weeks, I've sold 3 listings. I've gotten 2 buyers under contract. I have 2 listings coming on board. And those people, when I speak to them, they're very positive about the decisions that they're making and happy that they're going to be doing business. What I'd like to, what I'm leading to is I'd like to speak to Mark Roberts. Mark Roberts has a fantastic, business value that he offers to the community. In addition to that, he bought a boat. He bought a boat in the last for his birthday. He bought a beautiful. How big is that boat?
It's a 35-foot Erickson sailboat.
And absolutely beautiful with a sleeping area and an eating area. It's over in Wilmington. He spent in between his busy work schedule, he's been out there cleaning that boat and getting it ready. And Mark shares like he's a boater, so he can't get
Right.
the boat right now because it's in the Keys. But you're planning on doing business from that boat and also closing more business. Now, from what I understand, you've been closing a lot of business in the last few weeks.
Yes, we were already virtual. We work from home. We have a couple offices here in the house. In fact, we're taking over another extra bedroom upstairs for a studio, so that when we're both on the phone and doing this. But we do virtual bookkeeping, virtual office management, and then I do the business coaching. And we were setting this up to be virtual, so we're not going out to people's offices and things. And our biggest obstacle we had to overcome, you were talking about the sales process, is getting people to realize I don't have to do your books at your office. Actually, it's much easier to do the QuickBooks online, or let us get into the computer or just do the books. So that big objection has now just been overridden with everything that's changed, with the world going virtual. So for us, it's been a boom, and we've been helping our clients pivot so that they're ready for whatever's coming down the road. One of our biggest clients is in Mass, and we're basically stockpiling money because we know there's going to be some property up there that he's going to be able to pivot on and move on, and we're getting ready for that.
Well, also, power of networking. Mark and I met many years ago at one of my networking events,
Yes.
Northfield Networking, and we keep, digital is a tool, right? Facebook is a tool, LinkedIn is a tool. So although we were never in constant contact with one another and we weren't doing business with one another, when I had the opportunity, I was able to reach out to him. And he became a Rockstar Connect host. He has multiple events. We've also partnered on several business transactions. And I mean, last night I wanted him to be a host. I called him up on the phone because I'm always giving to him and he's always giving to me. I made an ask of him to come on today, and he answered like Scott, you were observing. Well, I'll tell that story a little bit later. But anyway, Mark said right away, yes. And whatever you need me, wherever you need me, that's where I'm going to be. That brings me over to Katia. Now, I have never met Katia, but you know why I know?
You're missing out.
You know why I know about Katia? I'll explain Katia, and you're going to be like, wow, all this effort really works. Because Katia has been doing a lot virtually and providing, interviews and free courses online right now. And she's on my radar. And I wanted her on the show today so that she could explain how, as a business coach like Eric and Rhonda, how she is closing business right now, and what advice can you give our networking attendees to this Three-Martini lunch, Katia?
Well, thank you so much for having me. That's a great question. I think right now the answer, like you were saying, what Mark did, he said yes right away. We need to say yes to everything. Right now, putting ourselves really on the radar of everybody. This is our chance to step up. This is our chance to really be seen. And for me, so I'm a speaker, I'm a keynote speaker, so I travel all over the world, and I use speaking as a strategy to build my business and to get an infinite amount of leads and clients. And right now, obviously, I couldn't travel, I couldn't use the stage, the real stage. So what I did is I created a show and I made Facebook my stage. So I just decided then, okay, this is going to be the stage. And since I'm going to become an event planner now, I'm going to collaborate with people, and let's collaborate with people that I trust. Let's collaborate with people that I know who are doing a great job and who are delivering value right now. And when you deliver value and when you really have the audience for into your mind and giving, it really comes back to you.
That's fantastic. And when you say to say yes, we do have a limited amount of time in the day. And, you know, a lot of the things that people are asking for, they're asking us to do free things, but we still have to pay the bills.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. So how do you keep that balance? Do you use a calendar tool? Are your free calls maybe a little bit shorter than what you would charge for? And this is for everyone to give them advice.
Right. So there is free and then there is free. Like the lives are obviously free. We give value and we give enough, then people get to know us. They get to see, I really like her, I really don't like her. And, when I have the guests, it's the same. Either they like them or they don't like them. And then, I always want them to have a call to action. On that call to action, it's like, hey, let's get on the phone with me. We can give you some tips, but then we also let them know how we work. And right now, this is also about stepping up our business. This is an opportunity for selling and for getting, a little bit more business than what we do usually.
Well, that's fantastic. And Rhonda had explained a little bit earlier that she's a certified face reader. And I'm not certified, but I think I'm a pretty good face reader. Otherwise, it would be very hard to run one of these events. I think that Lisamarie was really liking what you had to say. I could see a little bit of nodding and agreement there, and that she wants to add on to that. What do you have to say, Lisamarie? Was I right there, or was I wrong?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like being of value in times of transition and pivot are so important, because it's not about us. It's about other people, and coming from a place of service and value is so important. Katia said there's free and then there's free, and it's so true. There's a lot of free content out there that is there. It's just fluff, or it's time filler. And I find for myself, I'm busier in a different way right now as I've shifted with what's happening in our society, on our globe, and in my business. And so if I'm going to commit to taking the time to connect with someone, whether I'm paying or it's a complimentary content, I want to make sure it's of value, and I strive to do the same. I'm on Facebook and YouTube very regularly with video, and I'm not even talking about commercial real estate right now. I'm providing value and content that people can use on a daily basis, and what our community needs right now.
Are you encouraging your tribe?
Yes, of course. I am. You always say I'm the upbeat one, and it's true. I'm a realist though also, and I know that my friends, my sphere of influence, my clients, their families, even people I don't know, people really are hurting right now in a lot of different ways. We're in this kind of pressure cooker right now. It's not like we're on vacation with all this time. We're stuck at home, or we're in a very different circumstances, and the pressure is incredibly high. I'm the president of our suicide prevention hotline that's based here in Reno, and about 20% of our calls right now are coming from frontline workers that feel like they're in a war zone, and they can't see their families, and they don't see an end. And there was a story that just ran in the New York Post about an emergency room doctor that committed suicide recently because she was so overwhelmed by what's happening in the hospitals and the medical field. So I feel like it's my responsibility and it's my drive to help people through the crisis that's happening right now, and then beyond, because as people see us as experts and people that want to give of our time and talents, then this is a way for us to connect with them, because this will be over, and then we're going to be top of mind for these people as we get back into the flow of life.
That's very encouraging, and I watch all your videos. You notice that I'm always either commenting on them, or
I appreciate your support, Stephen, very much.
Or I give a reaction to it.
I'm a big fan of yours too.
Yes, and I don't know if you actually met Rhonda in person, but Rhonda, in addition, she just participated in our LinkedIn panel, and she is an expert on LinkedIn, but she is also an expert connector. Who on this panel, raise your hand, has actually connected with Rhonda prior to being on this panel? I know that you had a good conversation with Mark Sher last week. Mark, did you connect with Rhonda? These conversations are very, very valuable conversations. I know you had a great conversation with Mark Sher last week. He was excited about it. He reached back out to me, and then you immediately reached out to me as well. Tell me, what type of how does that help your business, speaking with Mark Sher? He's in the financial business, you're in the LinkedIn business.
Are you talking to me, Stephen?
Yes, Rhonda.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, anybody with the same last name, how could I miss, right? I mean,
they're not related to one another.
Not related, not that we can figure out anyway. But I was really fascinated with what he does in terms of helping people get out of debt and, with what's happening. So I wanted to know more, and his pitch was so compelling that it caused me to go into the Hi-Yo room and reach out. And we did have this amazing conversation. And again, the connection was based on you, Stephen, but for this platform and the way that you've arranged it, that conversation probably never would have happened.
Well, us panelists, we're networking too. We wish we could have all the attendees in one room, but if you've participated in any Zoom rooms with more than about 15 people, it's not even fun chaos. It's the most aggravating thing. My biggest pet peeve now are people eating on Zoom calls I don't even care if they're muted. I may have been online for hours. I have not had a meal. Please do not eat in front of me. So Rhonda, you introduced me to Eric, right? Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a student of Eric's. Oh my God. Actually, it was back in 2008, Eric, and he had a challenge. And I actually said that because of the training he had taught me scripting, I was always somebody that just kind of flew by the seat of my pants. And I said that I was going to pay cash to buy my husband a car on his birthday. So this was on August 30th. I believe it was 2008, if my memory served. My daughter was a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. And I did. We walked into the Acura dealer. I wrote a check for $48,000, and I was on the front of Eric's website for a long time in front of that car. So I've always been a huge fan of what Eric teaches. He has a way of sharing how to do sales scripts, and he's evolved to the point where it's amazing with what he shares about social media, how to write a book in a day, and his sales training just keeps getting better and better. So it really is just all about connecting, and I can't even tell you, Eric, how many people I'm in touch with because of the connection to you. And I'm still in touch with these people, and they're still part of my community. So I'm forever grateful.
Thank you,
Rhonda. I'm going to come right to you, Eric. Thank you for that segue, because it helps me to talk a little bit about what Eric is doing and how it's going to be helpful for everyone, and how I'm going to be, Rockstar Connect is going to be collaborating with Eric. So we're doing the networking for Les Brown's event tomorrow, and Sarah's going to drop a link in there. All the networking events at Les Brown's event tomorrow are absolutely free, so you can go do the networking. But if you want to hear the panelists, they're doing an event that should cost you, several $100s for $27. But Eric is actually doing events with Les Brown now too, and we're all big fans of Les Brown, especially the people that are my age or older. I mean, we are big Les Brown fans. Can you tell us about that course and how people can find out more about that?
Are you asking me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Les just came out with a new book, and part of selling is thinking about it from the other person's perspective. And so I know intuitively Les wants to sell more books. And so I approached him, and Les does not have a lot of experience doing online events. And I said, I'll just handle all of it for you. All you have to do is just show up, and I'll help support your book. And so we're doing this event, and it's a two-part event. So it's today and it's Thursday. And that's actually part of the strategy, because with an online event or a live event, when the event happens, as soon as the event's done, the energy is gone from the event. I mean, think of the Super Bowl, right? All the energy of the Super Bowl happens, the energy's gone. But on a two-part event, then it continues on. So I will often do two-part virtual events. I don't always do that. So that's what we're doing. And if any of you want to eavesdrop in on that event, it's free, it's virtual. You can contact me. I'm happy to send you guys a link. And this is what I want to do with Rockstar Connect, is I want to bring my expertise to make the pool for all of us, right? We're all in the connecting business. And so I want to like really grow the online network of Rockstar for all of us, me included, you guys included. And so I've been talking with Steven about bringing my expertise and really just doing it as a value add, not charging Rockstar Connect as a consulting fee, but just me contributing that as a value add, so we can all make the pie bigger for all of us with growing online. And this is something I've been passionate about for many years.
And you know, you're a king of scripting. I love scripting. You know, I share my scripts with people in real estate all the time. You know, people that see themselves as competitors, I make them colleagues by giving them scripts that they're able to assist their clients in making decisions, and they're able to help other real estate agents negotiate a deal. Scripting is very important for you to achieve what you want to achieve. Tommy Episcopo is fantastic at scripting. I've been face to face with him in person, and he's explained how he helps other people through scripting. He utilizes a script with his event at Rockstar Connect. Scripting is a good thing because it helps people achieve their goals. Tommy, can you talk a little bit about how, you know, as an expert salesperson, scripting is important to you? You have to unmute yourself, Tommy. Sarah, can you, he's unmuted. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that, Tommy.
Well, I think everybody needs a little direction, right? Everybody, you know, you can't just give them a job with no direction. So a script definitely helps. So what we try to do at my events is I always have my assistant there signing people in. She has a script. Her script for every person that comes in is, hey, this is Tommy. He's your gracious host. He teaches businesses and individuals how to get out of debt, and he teaches everybody how to become their own bank. We won't be shaking hands now, but I'll give them the elbow. And some people will say, geez, you know, you can help me. She'll say, great. I'll put a star next to your name and I'll give you a call. Set some time with Tommy. That's it. Just that little thing.
So can we be a little bit candid here? You've made some really good contacts at your event.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest policy that you ever sold from someone that you made through your event? Yes.
Commission-wise?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On average, they're about 60 grand.
Didn't you have one where it was closer to like $900,000 commission in one transaction?
I did.
That was in his first 3 months of doing his event. So that's why we're so happy to have him, because we know he can afford to be a host with us for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, most of these people are really people that I'm not really sure I would have reached in any other way. And to be honest with you, I'm not that techie. I mean, my daughter works for Apple, and she's the one who really helped me with this. And after my first event, you know, I'm old school. I would send out mailers and get an RSVP list. And here I am at my first event, and I'm like, is anybody going to show up with this thing? And then all of a sudden, the floodgates open, and I was sold ever since.
Yeah, well, you're a favorite host. I mean, we flew down to Jupiter, Florida, to meet with Tommy and do a little video with him and ask him, you know, how he's so successful, because he is a fantastically successful host. And he said, well, with help from my daughter and from going into the Rockstar Connect Academy and watching the videos, it helped me to develop the script that I utilize. And it is about deep referral relationships. But for the people that are in the audience that are listening, you know, you attendees here, you have to come from a feeling of giving. You can't have that expectation that you're going to have an event and your event is going to produce commission and money. Instead, it should be saying, I am a blessed individual. I have things that I can offer to the community. This is the way I'm going to pay it forward by hosting an event and then identifying the people at the event that can either utilize my services or my advice. And sometimes they're going to pay for those services and advice, and sometimes you're going to give it away for free.
Yes. Here's the thing that I see at most networking events. Most people will walk in and there's 30, 40 people there, and they look at that as 30 or 40 potential sales. Big mistake. I look at it as 30, 40 potential salespeople for me. That's how I look at it, you know. And if you're out there just looking at this thing and you're just looking at it for the quick buck, you won't be around very long. You'll make a few sales, but it won't last.
Well, you probably won't have an event with us. So we have an onboarding process, prior to people starting their event. Now, at that point, they've already written a check to us. They made a deposit to have their event. But several people from our company are speaking them at that point. And when they start talking about, well, what's my return on investment and how many leads am I going to get and all of that, we say, this really isn't the program for you, because we're about making meaningful connections with people in our community, because that is the immediate return on investment. All of our hosts are rock stars. They're successful people, whether they ever came to Rockstar Connect or not. We didn't make them successful. They're just looking for an efficient way to give back to their community in an altruistic way. And that's why we value our hosts so much. So with Lisamarie, I think this is your second year with us. We met and we spoke with her several times before she decided that we were the right people to help her with her events, because she runs her events. We're just the people doing the heavy lifting. We're like the roadies, and she's the rock star. She's the rock star of the event, and we take a lot of input from her, but she's someone who invests in her business. And everyone here that's on this panel, we invest in our business, whether that be money or time or making connections. She's continually investing in her business and investing in her tribe to bring the greatest value. And she holds us accountable, as do all our best hosts. I mean, Mark holds us accountable, Tommy, Scott, not so much. He's a pushover. We can just run roughshod over him. Just kidding, Scott. Just want to make sure you're paying attention. So Lisamarie, with live events, when we go back to live events, what is the immediate value that you want to give to your tribe, to your, the Lisamarie Nation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Stephen, I want to say that I consider you and your amazing team to be part of my success. And we've had, brainstorming calls, and we've stayed connected over the last probably almost 3 years. I've known you now, and I really appreciate the value that you and your organization bring to the table. It's a big part of the success of my event. And people ask me, every month at my live events, Lisamarie, why do you do this? And I specifically say, I want to give back to my community and my city, because they've had this city has, and the people here have helped me with my success. And so I want to give back. And that is the number one reason why I do my events. I don't think about necessarily who am I going to get business from this month, who's going to help me close a deal. It's really about giving back. We rise by lifting others, and that's the core of who I am and how I run my business. As far as when we start back up, I feel like the continuity is going to be very important. People are going to want to get back to some of the things in their life that bring them joy. And people that come to my events, I say we just have the best people at my events, and I've been told by your team and by other people, Lisamarie, that your event is an extension of who you are. And so there's no cliques or exclusionary. It's really the people that come, and we have different people every month, as well as the tried and true people that show up for their support every month. And we all look forward to it. So for me, it's just going to be, opening up my arms to my Rockstar family again and being there for everyone when they're ready to get out and connect again. And I'm happy to continue to do this, purely for those philanthropic reasons. But I will tell you the added benefit, and Stephen, you and I have talked about this, is I will hear people at my events or even around town and they say, oh yeah, Lisamarie, she's awesome. We've done deals together and I don't even know who these people are sometimes.
It's ultimate in networking.
Yeah, it's helped with just being a resource and having a presence in my area. And, you can't put a dollar sign on that, can you?
No, and it's hard to buy it. You have to work for it. And we work with our hosts together with them so that they can accomplish that. I mean, I know all of our hosts are well known in their area they're in because they offer such a great value proposition. You need to show and provide to people something of value just to be a good citizen. It just so happens that our hosts, they want to do that on a large level. They love helping their clients individually, but they want to help the whole community. So it's that value proposition. I want to bring this back over to Katia because I've heard her discuss this on some of her broadcasts. What is a value proposition to you when you're offering it out to the community? What does that mean?
Well, for me, I believe it's an exchange, right? I give something and in exchange, they give back. So whether we are on stage or whether we are on Facebook or whether we are really an entrepreneur in business, it's really a value proposition. I give you something and in exchange, people give money. And this is the part that I think as small business owners, sometimes when we are so much into this giving mode, there is no extension to offering their services. That's why earlier I said there's free and then there's free. We can give, but then at one point we have to say, you know what? I have the solution to your problem. In exchange, since I have this life jacket, since you're drowning, we will have an exchange of money because you obviously you want the solution. You are so much in pain, then you want the solution that I have.
I think you should create a meme and we should quote it to you. There's free and then there's free. Let's see what people have to say about that because it's very true. We all have services we want to charge for, of course. Right. But when we give, the beauty of people that give first is they're getting their return on investment immediately before money is even exchanged.
That's right. Right.
Because you're in a position, that means you're a privileged person. And, I remember back to university in philosophy, and we would discuss, altruism, for example, and say, what is altruism? Is there someone who's truly altruistic? Yes, I believe there are people that are truly altruistic, but even people that are truly altruistic gain great pleasure from giving. And I do appreciate everyone that comes, to the table here bringing something. So, Jerry, I've neglected you a little bit. I've only spoken to you once or twice, and I kicked you off the beginning part of the platform.
I'm not feeling loved, Stephen. I'm just saying.
What are you
guy in the street here?
Okay, I'm going to give you an opportunity to give a completely altruistic give. What do you want to give away to the people in the audience? Give big till it hurts.
Well, the thing is that it's funny. I was listening to some of the other panelists talk about what they're doing in this COVID-19 time. And it's interesting, the calls I'm getting now are, can you give me your view on crime? And I posted a one-pager for Association Executives of North Carolina on what the risk of burglary is in this time, which is virtually none because we're all home, of course. But they asked me to author a piece on that. And so how can we bring comfort to people in this time when they're scared? And then they see, things going on in the world, and they think, well, I think this plus that equals that something bad's going to happen to me. So, and I center around my work with my business on trying to empower employees to live safer and to drive safer. I have two. But anyway, so it's been a journey to do that. And it really started for me. Actually, I gave away my course, the one I currently teach, a version of it, after 2012 when I started doing research on why police officers are not victims of crime. I've interviewed now 9,500 police officers in America, Europe, and China. I've got 7 schools there that are clients of mine. That why don't we explain what that is, and then take it and put it in a course that's palatable to people, and then make them stop having fear and largely avoid being a victim of a crime. And, you know, my naysayers initially are like, I don't know about that. And they come to the course like, oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty simple. But yeah, and I gave it away to all these companies. And then when I started getting ready to retire from law enforcement, I had a 30-year career in law enforcement. And as soon as I was getting ready to retire, I was like, yeah, I got to start charging for this. So kind of came from there. Just a little bit, because I know I heard I got kicked off of Facebook, but I heard you're one of your panelists that used to be a Canadian police officer. I wonder how odd it is you've had police officers too on one show. That must be a little bit of an oddness. But just a real brief background. So I was raised in a very violent, very unsafe environment for a long time. And then so when I came out of high school, I went in the Marine Corps and enjoyed it. But of course, I'm going to become a cop and try to stop all that. And in 1990, and then 2000, and then in 1999 in the Columbine high school shooting, if you remember the photos, maybe you don't, but they surrounded this big fence around Columbine, and they wouldn't go in because it was too dangerous. And I looked at some of my friends in law enforcement and said, we're going to change that. That's what I'm going to do to stop it. So we started training police officers. I started doing research. We started putting the course together. But I did 20 years of research in interviewing active shooters and going to active shooter scenes and reading all these reports and working with the police to find out what happened in each case. And then in about 2008, everybody started asking for my research. And oddly enough, pharmaceutical companies, which is a bit weird. But anyway, so I was doing I showed my research a couple of times, you know, maybe 12 or 15 times to these different companies. And finally I said, well, you don't need this. Like, what do you mean? And for you guys, anybody in the audience, if anybody tries to give you active shooter training, please tell them no. Don't do it. Because with the core, and I helped do it in North Carolina, train it, develop it. It's about telling cops how to go straight at the shooter and how to do that in a way that's safe as it can be. How EMS will come in and treat people in these casualty collection points, and how fire will come in and help carrying them out so they can get a higher level of care. It has nothing to do. If you're not a police officer, fire, emergency medical services, it doesn't do with you. So anyway, I just stopped mid. I was doing this talk to a pharmaceutical company in North Carolina. And I said, halfway through, the guy brought me and was petrified. I said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not what you need to know. And I just offhand went, I know thousands of cops, not one's been a victim of a crime. I don't know any of them. I'm talking about fraud. I'm talking about a person-on-person crime. And that was just like an aha moment for me. Like, why don't I teach you to be an off-duty police officer? Because what we teach people to go in and deal with the problem, they can turn that around with their families and see it emerging. If you guys want to see some videos, you can go to my website at personalsafetyatwork.com, and there's videos in the first page at the bottom. They tell the story. What Officer Knows to Keep You Safer is a good one to watch. Share it with whoever you want. I actually have intentionally not put my logo on it because now I get the rate of numbers I get off the videos. I made them for my e-learning platform, but make the e-learning more live. But it's really cool to share with people, and my name's not on any of it.
Hey, go check that out. We're coming up. Thank you very much, Jerry. We're coming up on the 4 o'clock hour. Domenic, are you there? Because we gave you a little exercise to do. Are you there? Can you come back on?
I am here.
Good. I'm glad you were sticking around and listening. So you were in the Hio Lounge. Were you able to connect with anyone?
I was able to connect with a handful of folks. I was able to connect with somebody I met quite a bit ago, Liz Losey from here in Durham, North Carolina.
Money Mountain, right?
Yep, exactly. And we were just talking about various ways that she may be able to connect with some of the folks in her audience or some of the prospective clients that she wants to work with, and how she can give away some additional value. She's giving away some, little bits and pieces on Facebook, but maybe, like do a free hour-long class and invite a number of people in, give some general information in class, give people the opportunity to ask questions and things like that, just enough of a taste so that those people would want to potentially work with her one-on-one. And I think especially with coaches and people who are mentors and experts in particular fields, I don't think it's said enough the difference between the experience of working with one of those individuals one-on-one with your specific situation and the general information that those coaches give away in order to entice people to come work with them. Because you as the potential client is trying to interpret what the coach is giving in a general situation to your specific situation, and you're not the expert, right? So that's something that I think coaches specifically should really be putting into their marketing efforts is the value of that one-on-one training.
What I've learned from some great coaches, and some of them are on this call, including Eric and Rhonda and Katia. Give away all your secrets, 100% of your secrets. That's how Rockstar Connect came into being. We created a 15-hour course, and we gave it to some of the best people in the country to take that course. And when they came back to say that was fantastic information, that we see how that will definitely work, but we cannot apply that. Can you do that for us? Or can you teach us more closely how to do that and be basically our coaches? So that was the good. What was the ugly? Did you have anybody just like, oh my God, I can't believe they connected this way?
No, there was none of that. Anybody who I was able to connect with was happy to have the conversation. What I think is interesting is people go onto the app and they may just kind of fade off and not be paying attention, or they're watching the webinar, so they're getting some good content and they don't really want to be drawn away from what Tommy's telling them or what they're learning from Katia, because it's just too engaging, so they kind of ignore it. So that's the bad. That's the drawback, is that you don't necessarily get to talk to the person that you wanted to talk to.
Well, we're going to do some pure networking tomorrow at Les Brown's event. Sarah will drop the information about that event. The networking events are absolutely free. To listen to their brilliant panelists, I think there's a small charge of $27. You're going to be connecting in the virtual lounge. So what we're doing there is we're going to be the lobby. Normally you go to a big summit or an event. Yes, you do go there to hear the engaging speakers and content, but a lot of us like to go to the lobby because that's where the money is made. Right? You're making connections in the lobby, and that's the experience that we're losing, in these virtual events. So we're going to be creating that lobby impact tomorrow. So all of you attendees that want to go to those events, we're going to have the links available for you. And if you want to go make money tomorrow and make good connections and opportunities for your business, do that. But also, if you do want to get a ticket, don't pass up the opportunity to buy a ticket as well and learn from Les Brown and all the people that he has trained. Also, don't forget to check out, Eric's mastery event that's coming up. So we're 3 minutes on the hour. We're going to keep the virtual lounge open for those hosts that want to go, these panelists that want to go back in and network with their new tribe or people that they've connected with before. As far as Three-Martini lunch, we're going to be back next week at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. with new panelists. There'll be new attendees. There are a lot of people that watch this. We live broadcast this event. Our reach is enormous. Thousands of people watch the video on Facebook and on YouTube. And our hosts have made fantastic connections, our panelists. If you would like to be a panelist or a sponsor of Three-Martini Lunch, please feel free to go to our website and make an appointment to speak with one of our success coaches, or you can make a request in the chat. We will interview you, and if you have something of value that you can provide to the thousands of people that are participating in this event, you may have a chance to be up here with our illustrious hosts. I want to thank Mark and Mark Sher, Mark Roberts, Scott Rutter, Rhonda Sher, Eric Lofholm, Domenic and Jerry and Tommy and Lisamarie and Katia for coming today, and also all the fantastic panelists that Eric Stoller brought on that will be talking more at the Les Brown event tomorrow. And we are a sponsor of that event. We are providing the networking for that event. So everyone, just raise your hand. All the panelists, raise your hand like this. Wave goodbye. and jump into the Hi-O Lounge. Hope to see some of you again next week, and happy networking from Rockstar Connect. And most importantly, I want to thank Sarah Elliott for running all the logistics of this. It's not just turning this on. This is days of work with the Rockstar Connect team, getting this ready. That's everyone from Alan and Adeline and Kim and Robert and Jackie that make these events happen. Thank you so much for coming. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.